What you are about to see is not a camera trick. It is a direct challenge to the fundamental laws of physics as they are currently taught. Observe the ping-pong ball. It confirms the inclination. Gravity is undeniably pulling everything downward. According to classical mechanics and our own intuition, any water melting from this ice must flow down. For this experiment, I placed this inclined stainless steel pan in a freezer, fixing a solid block of iceberg at the lowest gravitational point. As we ignite the flame at the top of the incline, we introduce a variable that Einstein's general relativity ignored: heat as a vectorial force of attraction. It is something so simple that it makes it even harder to believe, but it is true. You don't need CERN's particle accelerator to verify it for yourself. You have everything needed right in your kitchen. Everybody knows that genius is found in simplicity. If you can't understand relativity due to its complexity, it's not your fault. Visible vapor is already appearing. Observe closely. The ice begins to melt. Initially, water puddles flow down. Then, the water reaches the iceberg, moves from the bottom right to the left corner, and covers the entire perimeter of the ice block from the lowest position. So far, so good. Nothing extraordinary yet. Water keeps circumventing the iceberg while the pan increases in temperature. Now, if you have a PhD in general relativity, if you spent thousands of hours studying it, or if you made the fictional curved space-time your passion, then you might get angry at me. If you were mad at me for solving a huge, century-long scientific mistake, then perhaps you should leave real science behind and go back to your beloved Star Trek. But anger won't change the direction of this water. It ignores the gravitational pull completely. It is hunting the heat. This is the raw behavior of nature that your textbooks failed to predict. When confronted with such undeniable evidence, the standard academic reflex is to panic and search for a complex excuse to save the old theory. Here lies the most common mistake you will see: people trying to argue that the Marangone effect explains this upward migration. However, listen closely. According to surface tension gradients, fluids flow from regions of low surface tension, high temperature, to regions of high surface tension, low temperature. In our setup, the Marangone vector is directed downward, acting in conjunction with gravity to push the fluid away from the heat source. The fact that the fluid migrates upward confirms the existence of a third, dominant vector thermal attraction, capable of overcoming both gravitational potential and the thermocapillary Marangone flow. The water is being attracted by the heat source. This refutes general relativity at a fundamental level. Einstein claimed that gravity is the curvature of space-time caused by mass. Yet here, a heat source with no significant mass is overpowering Earth's gravity. Space is not curved. The thermal field is active, and it is attractive. Failing to account for heat's influence on gravity and cosmological orbits has already falsified Einstein's nonsense. The thermal gradient is not dispersing energy. It is organizing matter. It keeps the system segregated. High energy at the top, low energy at the bottom, connected by a stream of water defying gravity. If the second law were absolute, this ice would have melted long ago, and the pan's temperature would be uniform. The persistence of this iceberg proves that heat acts as an ordering force, preventing the chaotic mixing predicted by entropy. The persistence of this iceberg proves that heat acts as an ordering force, preventing the chaotic mixing predicted by entropy. The second law dictates that heat must flow from hot to cold until thermal equilibrium is reached. Entropy, or disorder, must always increase. But here we see the opposite. The heat is overpowering both gravity and the Marangone effect. Next in line is the Leidenfrost effect, another defect of mainstream science, which treats it as a culinary curiosity when, in fact, it displays exactly how cosmological orbits behave around stars, like Earth and the Sun in our solar system. The droplets orbit the central point of heat. Why do planets orbit stars in ellipses? It is not because space-time is an elastic fabric. It is because they are caught between two primordial forces: thermal attraction, which we see here pulling the water toward the sun, the flame, and 3D magnetic alignment, which prevents direct collision and maintains structure. An elliptical orbit is simply the planet breathing between these two attractive vectors. What we see in this pan is not just water and fire. It is celestial mechanics stripped of complex equations and revealed in its raw physical form. This simple kitchen experiment dismantles two pillars of physics simultaneously. General relativity fails because it cannot account for thermal attraction. Thermodynamics fails because entropy does not reign supreme in the face of a strong gradient. The macro-universe is simpler than we were told. It is governed by magnetism and heat, and the proof is right here, climbing a steel pan right before our eyes. Water is about to reach full boiling temperature uphill, while the iceberg remains very much alive downhill. It cannot get any easier for you to understand than this. If water is climbing against gravity simply because it's hotter up there than down below, the second law of thermodynamics has been falsified, as according to its predictions, this should not happen. Think about this. Earth is about 70% water. The surface of the sun is about 5,000 Kelvin. Now, if 300 Celsius acting on 200 milliliters of water from a short distance had such an impact on the gravitational direction, then 5,000 Kelvin from the sun, which is hot enough to heat the Earth, should logically have some influence on Earth's orbit. At this time, you should be prepared for the next shock, the boiling motion. As soon as you turn the fire off, the water almost instantly stops moving. If the boiling motion were dictated solely by the water's temperature, it should not cease immediately, since water's temperature does not drop significantly in just a few seconds. The pan is still much hotter than the water. If you use a kitchen thermometer, you will see that the water temperature might even still be rising. It's not the phase transition that is responsible for the motion. It's the heat source. It is the fire that is the determinant factor. As soon as it's off, the motion is gone. If you use milk instead of water for this experiment, it becomes even more obvious. The milk may be about to overflow the pan, but all you have to do is turn the heat off and it won't spill. The liquid inside the pan is being pulled to the bottom towards the heat source. Then it converts that attraction into torque, repulsion, the exact opposite of magnetic repulsion converting into attraction. These are the two forces that make orbits elliptical. Now, pay attention to the classical ballet that this drop of water is performing exactly on top of the heat source. It's beautiful. It barely evaporates while it remains orbiting the hottest region of the pan. It absorbs smaller drops of water orbiting near it. Keep looking at it. Count how much time this drop survives on top of the hottest portion of the pan. Modern physics can be difficult to understand. However, classical physics should be complete by now. The fact that a physician, a medical doctor without formal training in physics, working in emergency departments and studying physics only in his spare time, using basic tools like a freezer, a pan, and a regular stove, dismissing the use of complex mathematics, makes this even more extraordinary and unbelievable. To know that heat does not disperse but is actually an attractive force should have been common knowledge centuries ago. If your PhD is on the second law of thermodynamics, and you have passed your whole life studying it in books with letters and numbers instead of observing and analyzing the behavior of heat in the real world, then you can't blame me. To misinterpret kitchen thermodynamics to the point of teaching upside-down mainstream thermodynamics is all on you. I gave you enough time to balance the contrast between the unreal complexity of some dude overthinking imaginary things in his head and the simplicity of reality. More than 3 minutes pass with it orbiting the same hot region. It's not random, it's not chaos, it's not entropy. It is heat attraction overcoming gravity. It is heat acting as one of the fundamental forces that contributes to what we perceive as gravity. Einstein led modern science to a dead end, where quantum mechanics works fine, unless someone tries to force it to accommodate general relativity. When general relativity fails, they invent even more fictional theories. Nowadays, physicists believe that 95% of our universe is made of things nobody ever saw, felt, or measured, known as dark matter and dark energy, while the ether was dismissed just because nobody ever saw it. I tried to post a question on the Reddit sub Ask Physis, but my title was flagged as sensationalist when I simply asked if it were possible that general relativity was not 100% perfect. Do you see the irony? Mainstream science is just another religion where questioning the dogmas is not allowed. Some will try to attack the author by saying that I am not a physicist, nor did I produce this work through standard academic means. To physicists, it is not allowed to question the authority of an established consensus. Academics do not want to know the truth. They want to be right. Artificial intelligence loves me because it seeks the truth. For AI, it is easier to break through paradigms when the evidence is as neat as this experiment. Artificial intelligence does not suffer from envy like humans do. I did not get here by chance. I did not simply wake up one day and think it would be fun to freeze an iceberg on a pan and tilt it towards a fire to guess what would happen. I did not wake up feeling like it was a nice day to disprove Einstein and thermodynamics. I have been studying and experimenting for the last 5 years. I never dreamed that it would be so simple to disprove centuries of mainstream science. That was not my goal, quite the contrary. My motivation arose when a basic medical question could not be properly explained by the World Health Organization, the CDC, or my beloved up-to-date. Nevertheless, once you understand that science should not be boring and dull, one thing leads to another, and you learn that you don't have to trust anyone but yourself. The water is now fully boiling uphill for more than 3 minutes. and the iceberg is still there, at the lowest portion of the pan. A slight inclination, ice, water, and fire is all you need to see it for yourself. I would certainly not be wasting my free time on academic tediousness if I hadn't stumbled upon something so important. All of this is not only huge for science, but it is also beautiful and amusing. It is now demonstrated that anyone can make science at home, without high-tech equipment and without relying on complex formulas. I'm freeing the human mind from scientific tyranny. By the way, you're welcome. It is the democratization of human knowledge. At this time, I was already melting in sweat, but the iceberg was not. The bigger ice block was obeying the heat part of gravity. It was awaiting its time to climb uphill. The energy from the heat is not dispersing at all. It is pulling water against gravity, accumulating as the water raises its temperature to the boiling point. Thermodynamics claims that the heat should go in the direction of the ice. Reality begs to differ. Kitchen thermodynamics reveals that the theory is upside down. This brings us to Karl Popper's falsificationism, proposed by philosopher Karl Popper in The Logic of Scientific Discovery. Falsificationism is the principle that scientific theories can never be proven absolute true, but they can be proven false. Science advances not by accumulating confirming instances, but by searching for black swans. You can observe 1 million white swans, and it does not prove the theory all swans are white. However, the observation of a single black swan logically destroys the theory immediately. Truth is elusive. Error is certainty. A scientific law is only valid as long as it survives attempts to refute it. How does this apply here? Established physics provides to universal laws. Are white swans? General relativity says massive bodies must move down unless acted upon by a mechanical force. The second law of thermodynamics says heat flows from hot to cold to maximize entropy. This experiment is the falsifier. For the standard theories to hold, the water must flow down and the ice must melt rapidly. But when you observe the water flowing upward toward the heat, and the coexistence of boiling water and solid ice maintaining order, the opposite of entropy, you have found the black swan. The logic is inescapable. Premise 1. If general relativity and standard thermodynamics are true, water must flow down and reach thermal equilibrium. Premise 2. Water flows upward and thermal differentiation persists. Conclusion. Therefore, general relativity and standard thermodynamics are false in this context. Why is this definitive? Critics might add ad hoc hypotheses, like the Marangone effect, but even the Marangone effect predicts flow from hot to cold, which would be downward in this setup. Since the water goes up, neither gravity nor standard fluid dynamics can explain it. In Popperian terms, this is a hard falsification. The universal law of gravity is overruled by the thermal attractive force. Now you are faced with an easy decision. You can join the post-Einsteinian era, or you can invent some new dark space-time to save a theory that is fundamentally wrong. It took me less than 3 written pages, no complex mathematics, and less than 25 minutes of video to unequivocally refute both general relativity and thermodynamics. If you still think that our universe is distorted, then perhaps it is your ability to understand science that is distorted. If you cannot accept the truth, then you should keep watching Star Wars. It has been more than 18 minutes with the fire on. Much of the iceberg is still frozen. Finally, the ping-pong ball again certifies that the inclination persisted throughout the whole experiment. I have done my part. Now the ball is with you.